Hi there.
That's right. Do you want me to?
What? Past 38. 41.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very privileged and pleased to find myself in this position this afternoon on the occasion of the Charing Gardeners Society centenary. This is a high point. Today is a high point in the various events which the Society has arranged to mark this centenary. Many of you will have attended centenaries of other organizations in recent years. It seems that the end of the last century was a time when quite a few people started up, including the railways, I may say. The railways, the parish council, Charing Gardeners Society, all been celebrating their centenaries in the last few years. It's a great occasion, whichever way you look at it. But I think you'll probably agree that all these organizations I've just mentioned, and many others besides, have had their ups and downs. This society has certainly had its ups and downs. I recall about 12 years ago when perhaps we were going through one of the down periods, and great stalwarts like Mrs. Jessup, who I haven't seen yet but I know is around because she was here earlier this morning, stalwarts like Mrs. Jessup and other indefatigable workers have held the society together, so that here today you can see that it once again is enjoying a very prosperous and strong period in its history. We also today remember many others, I'm sure, of the past who have helped to enliven and keep this great society of Charing going. I won't mention them all by name, but those of you who have been in Charing, dare I say it, as long as I have, may perhaps share in my pride that in 40 out of the 100 years you had a Hosking as a president. But that is nothing compared with the memories of people like Margaret Ruglis, who was kind enough to give a few notes to Mrs. Mead only in the last few days. And if I may, I'll just read out a few of those notes because they're quite interesting. Miss Ruglis recalls that the gardener's summer fete, she thinks there was only one show a year, this is in the 20s and 30s I may say, used to be held in the moat grounds just over there, and the show itself was held about where Mrs. Doherty's house is now, for those of you who know where Mrs. Doherty lives. As well as the show, there were in those days also sports events and competitions, such as tossing a bale of hay with a pitchfork, and clay pipe smoking was one of the activities. And she appends to the notes, after the latter, the teenage participants had to withdraw behind hedges to be sick in the bushes. The gardens of the moat were in those days open for the occasion, and the tennis courts of the house were used for tournaments. The tea tent was manned by Mesdames Feekins, who some of you will remember used to live in the house which is now the Mullions in the High Street. The main tent for the occasion was under the lime trees where the entrance to the sports field is now. Sweets and ginger beer, which some of you will recall was usually sold from a big stone jar with a tap, was also supplied by the general storeman who occupied the shop about where the present newsagents is. There were also needlework and wildflower displays. In the show in those days there were separate classes for professionals, cottagers, amateurs and schoolboys. But today we're all the same. So that was a little snippet from the past, kindly provided by Margaret Ruglis through Mrs. Mead. Among my records at home, when my father was president, was an occasion in 1963 when the Society, as a result of a flower festival in the church, was pleased to present £60 to the Freedom from Hunger campaign. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm particularly pleased to be able to make another presentation, and I'd be very glad if Mr. Peter Rawlinson of the Royal Gardeners Benevolent Society would come forward and accept a cheque from me on behalf of the Charing Gardeners Society for £200, which was raised recently during the garden safari held here in Charing. As you can imagine, it gives me a very great deal of pleasure to do that. Thank you very much. I mustn't lose my notes. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are all very welcome here indeed this afternoon. And may I particularly, before I open the show, thank those who have put so much into producing this lovely show on this lovely day. Particularly may I thank Lucy Simmons and her committee, who clearly have put an enormous amount of work into this, and to whom we are exceptionally grateful. We do thank you, and thank you particularly for having so much influence with the good Lord up there who has provided us with this absolutely perfect day. May I just tell you that you don't have to be a particularly wonderful gardener to be a member of Charing Gardeners Society, and I'll just finally read you what Rudyard Kipling said about people like me who don't do much more than mow the lawn. When he wrote The Glory of the Garden, he said, "Some can pot begonias and some can bud a rose, and some are hardly fit to trust with anything that grows. But they can roll and trim the lawns and sift the sand and loam, for the glory of the garden occupieth all who come." And I'm sure that that is as good a motto for the modern gardener as any. All who come are welcome, and I welcome you all this afternoon and have very much pleasure in opening this summer show.
Yes, that's right. Meet Ben. Oh God. Oh, I don't think he wants you right in the front with that laughing.
He's afraid of being on the telephone. Camera's me.
That's me on it.
What? You got an umbrella?
So when it's like daylight this, it's like an umbrella. It's an umbrella.
Well, we where are you going? Street in the street. Leave American Eagle out. That's cool now. Just give me a lift, she only plays with it, look. First person comes along and says, ain't they hot? You put me in the shade, the first person comes along and says, ain't they cold?
So, Abyssinian ego. So, Abyssinian, McGillen, sorry. Abyssinian.
You're on 4B. Keep that and you get 4B. Well done. Yeah. You get to learn some maths.
Did she find out?
They made it safe.
They grow up.
You hit that one 3 times. I think you broke it. You better end it. Right. Roll up.